What if I told you that the most dangerous moment of your day isn't when you're driving on the highway, lifting heavy objects, or even dealing with stress at work? What if the riskiest time for your brain is actually when you think you're safest, lying peacefully in your own bed, drifting off to sleep? This isn't some dramatic exaggeration. This is the harsh reality that Margaret Chen discovered at 3:15 in the morning when she found her 73-year-old mother, Dorothy, unconscious on the bathroom floor. No chest pain. No dramatic collapse. Just a woman who had gone to bed feeling perfectly fine and woke up unable to speak or move her left side. Dorothy had done everything right, or so she thought. She took her blood pressure medication religiously, walked every morning, ate her vegetables, and never missed a doctor's appointment. Her last checkup had been perfect. Her doctor had even complimented her on maintaining such good health at her age. Yet here she was, another statistic in what doctors are quietly calling the midnight epidemic, the startling rise in nighttime strokes among people over 65. But here's what's truly shocking. Dorothy's stroke wasn't caused by what she wasn't doing. It was caused by something she had been doing every single night for years, something so common and seemingly innocent that when her neurologist explained it to Margaret, she couldn't believe it. Something that millions of seniors are doing right now, tonight, without having any idea they're putting their lives at risk. I'm about to share with you the hidden bedroom habits that are silently stealing years from seniors' lives, and more importantly, the simple changes that can transform your sleep from a danger zone into the protective sanctuary it's meant to be. By the time we're done, you'll understand why some of the most well-meaning health advice you've been following might actually be working against you, and how a few small adjustments tonight could be the difference between waking up healthy tomorrow morning or not waking up at all. Now, before we dive deep into Dorothy's story and what her doctors discovered, I want you to think about your own bedtime routine. How many glasses of water do you drink after dinner? What position do you sleep in? What medications do you take before bed? What's the temperature in your bedroom right now? Keep these questions in mind because in the next few minutes, you might discover that some of your most automatic habits are the very things putting your brain in danger. Let me take you inside Dorothy's hospital room, where Dr. Sarah Williams, one of the country's leading stroke specialists, was reviewing the CT scans with a mixture of frustration and determination. "This shouldn't have happened," she told Margaret. "Your mother's arteries show normal wear for her age. Her heart is strong. Her blood work is excellent. But there are 5 specific things she was doing every night that created the perfect storm for a stroke." Dr. Williams has seen this pattern hundreds of times now. Healthy, active seniors who are doing everything their doctors recommend during the day, but unknowingly sabotaging their brains every night. It's become so common that stroke centers across the country have started what they call sleep safety protocols, specialized programs designed to identify and correct the bedroom habits that are driving the alarming increase in nighttime strokes. The first thing Dr. Williams discovered about Dorothy's routine will probably sound familiar to you. Dorothy was religious about staying hydrated. She'd heard that dehydration was dangerous for seniors, so she made sure to drink plenty of water throughout the evening. She'd have a large glass with dinner, another while watching the evening news, and one more right before brushing her teeth. She thought she was being health conscious. What she didn't realize is that this well-intentioned habit was setting her up for what doctors call the 3 a.m. danger zone. Here's what happens in your body when you drink large amounts of fluid late in the evening, especially after age 65. Your kidneys, which don't work as efficiently as they used to, can't process all that water quickly enough. So throughout the night, your body is working overtime to manage the excess fluid. This creates a cascade of problems that your younger self could have handled easily, but your aging cardiovascular system struggles with. First, you wake up multiple times to use the bathroom. Each time you get up, your blood pressure fluctuates dramatically. When you're lying down, your heart doesn't have to work as hard to pump blood to your brain. But when you suddenly stand up, especially in the middle of the night when your reflexes are slower, your blood pressure can drop dangerously low before your heart compensates. This is called orthostatic hypotension, and it's like giving your brain a series of mini shocks throughout the night. But that's just the beginning. The constant fluid processing puts extra strain on your heart, which is already working harder due to age-related stiffening of the arteries. Your blood becomes more diluted, which might sound good, but actually makes it harder for oxygen to reach your brain efficiently. And perhaps most dangerously, the frequent awakenings prevent you from reaching the deep sleep stages where your brain performs its most critical maintenance and repair work. A groundbreaking study published in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine followed 2,400 adults over 65 for 3 years. They found that people who consumed more than 16 ounces of fluid within 3 hours of bedtime had a 34% higher risk of nighttime cardiovascular events. But here's the part that shocked even the researchers. When they taught these same people to front-load their hydration earlier in the day and stop drinking fluids 90 minutes before bed, the risk dropped by an astounding 47%. The solution isn't to become dehydrated, it's to time your hydration intelligently. Starting tomorrow morning, begin drinking water as soon as you wake up. Your body becomes dehydrated overnight, and morning hydration helps kickstart your circulation and supports healthy blood pressure regulation throughout the day. Aim for 16 to 20 ounces within the first hour of waking. Throughout the morning and early afternoon, continue drinking regularly. The goal is to front-load your hydration when your body can process it most efficiently. Your kidneys work best when you're upright and active, so this is when you want to do the heavy lifting of hydration. By 6 p.m., you should have consumed about 80% of your daily fluid needs. After 6 p.m., switch to small sips only when truly thirsty. Stop all fluid intake 90 minutes before your planned bedtime. This gives your kidneys time to clear your system and reduces the likelihood of sleep-disrupting bathroom trips. But there's one more crucial element to smart hydration that Dorothy's team discovered. If you find yourself genuinely thirsty within 2 hours of bedtime, instead of plain water, try a small amount of water with a tiny pinch of high-quality sea salt and a few drops of fresh lemon juice. This combination helps maintain electrolyte balance and actually supports better circulation during sleep. Even better, consider a small cup of herbal tea like chamomile or hibiscus, finished at least 90 minutes before bed. The hydration issue was just the first piece of the puzzle. The second discovery Dr. Williams made about Dorothy's bedroom habits involves something even more fundamental: the position she was sleeping in every single night. Dorothy, like many seniors, had been sleeping flat on her back for years. It felt natural, seemed comfortable, and no one had ever told her there was anything wrong with it. In fact, she'd chosen her firm mattress specifically because it allowed her to lie completely flat, thinking it was better for her spine. What she didn't know is that this seemingly innocent sleeping position was creating a dangerous buildup of pressure inside her skull every single night. When you're young, sleeping flat isn't a problem because your cardiovascular system is strong enough to efficiently pump blood back from your brain to your heart, even without gravity's help. But as we age, our veins become less elastic and our heart becomes less powerful. When you combine this with the natural stiffening of arteries and the increased likelihood of partial airway obstruction during sleep, lying completely flat becomes a recipe for disaster. Here's the science that could save your life. When you sleep flat, gravity stops helping your blood drain from your brain. In a younger person, the heart compensates easily. But in someone over 65, especially if there's any degree of heart disease, high blood pressure, or circulation problems, this can lead to what researchers call cranial venous congestion. Think of it like a garden hose. When water flows downhill, everything flows smoothly. But if you flatten the hose, pressure builds up behind the obstruction. A landmark study published in the Journal of Stroke and Cerebrovascular Diseases followed 1,800 stroke patients and found something remarkable. Those who slept in a completely flat position were 23% more likely to experience their stroke during nighttime hours. And these nighttime strokes were 31% more severe than those that occurred during the day. The solution is surprisingly simple. Elevate your head and upper torso by 15 to 20 degrees using a wedge pillow or adjustable bed. This small incline helps blood drain more efficiently from the brain, keeps your airways open, and reduces pressure on the heart and vessels. When Dorothy's neurologist taught her this technique, follow-up brain scans showed improved blood flow, and her risk of recurring strokes dropped by 28%. But even more interesting is what Dorothy discovered about side sleeping. When you sleep on your left side, with your head slightly elevated, you're optimizing what researchers call the glymphatic system, your brain's waste removal process. A study in the Journal of Neuroscience found that left-side sleeping allowed cerebrospinal fluid to flow more efficiently through the brain, clearing out toxic proteins that contribute to stroke risk. Now, the third dangerous habit Dr. Williams discovered was perhaps the most shocking because it involved something that millions of seniors do without giving it a second thought: the timing and combination of their medications. Dorothy had been taking her blood pressure medication at bedtime, along with a baby aspirin, a magnesium supplement, and occasionally an over-the-counter sleep aid. Each of these, taken individually and at the right time, can be beneficial. But taken together at bedtime, they created what Dr. Williams described as a pharmaceutical time bomb. The blood pressure medication lowered her already well-controlled blood pressure, the aspirin thinned her blood, the magnesium relaxed her muscles, and the sleep aid suppressed her breathing, all at the same time her body was naturally dropping into its most vulnerable state. This created a condition called nocturnal hypotension, where blood pressure drops too low during sleep. It's like trying to water a garden with a kinked hose, not enough blood gets through to keep the brain healthy. The sleep aid made everything worse by suppressing Dorothy's natural breathing reflexes, worsening her undiagnosed mild sleep apnea. A study in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that seniors who took multiple cardiovascular medications at bedtime had nearly double the risk of nighttime cardiac events compared to those who spread their medications throughout the day. But here's where Dorothy's story takes a hopeful turn. When Dr. Williams worked with Dorothy's primary care physician to adjust the timing of her medications, moving the blood pressure pill to morning and replacing the sleep aid with natural sleep techniques, Dorothy's nighttime blood pressure patterns stabilized within 2 weeks. This brings us to the fourth critical factor that was sabotaging Dorothy's sleep safety: her bedroom environment itself. Dorothy had always kept her bedroom warm, around 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Like many seniors, she disliked feeling cold and assumed that a warm room would help her sleep better. What she didn't realize is that this comfortable temperature was actually forcing her cardiovascular system to work overtime every single night. When you sleep in a room that's too warm, your heart has to pump faster to help regulate your body temperature. Your blood pressure remains elevated instead of dropping to its natural nighttime levels, and your deep sleep stages become shorter and less restorative. A study in sleep medicine followed 1,200 adults over 65 and found that people who slept in rooms warmer than 70 degrees had 40% more nighttime blood pressure spikes. The optimal bedroom temperature is between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Dorothy was skeptical at first, but her rehabilitation team taught her the thermal layering method, keeping the room cool while using breathable, layered bedding that she could adjust throughout the night. The result was that her body could naturally regulate its temperature without forcing her cardiovascular system to work against an artificially heated environment. The fifth and final factor was something Dorothy had never considered a health risk: the light exposure in her bedroom. Her room had been filled with small lights, a digital clock with bright blue numbers, a phone charger with an LED indicator, a television on standby mode, and streetlight filtering through thin curtains. To her, these seemed like minor conveniences. To her brain, they were signals that prevented the production of melatonin, one of the most important protective hormones her body could make. Most people think of melatonin simply as a sleep hormone, but research has revealed that it's actually one of the brain's most powerful protective substances. It acts as an antioxidant that protects brain cells, helps regulate blood pressure during sleep, and supports the cleaning processes that clear toxic proteins from the brain. A study in oxidative medicine and cellular longevity found that seniors with higher natural melatonin levels had 60% better outcomes when they did experience strokes. But melatonin production is extremely sensitive to light, especially blue light from electronic devices. Even small amounts of artificial light can suppress melatonin production by up to 50% in older adults. Dorothy's bedroom transformation involved what her team called circadian respect, replacing bright displays with red-numbered clocks, adding blackout curtains, and establishing a digital sunset rule where all screens were turned off 1 hour before bedtime. The change in Dorothy's sleep quality was immediate and dramatic. Within a week, she was falling asleep faster, staying asleep longer, and waking up more refreshed than she had in years. Her blood pressure readings became more stable, and her blood tests showed protective melatonin levels instead of deficient ones. Now that Dorothy understood these 5 critical factors, her rehabilitation team introduced her to what they called the neuroprotective bedtime sequence, a series of simple activities designed to prepare both her brain and cardiovascular system for the safest, most restorative sleep possible. The first element addresses something that affects stroke risk but most people never consider: neck and shoulder tension before sleep. Dorothy had spent decades falling asleep with tight muscles from stress and poor posture. This tension doesn't just cause discomfort, it can actually restrict blood flow to the brain through the vertebral arteries that run through the cervical spine. The solution takes just 5 minutes but has profound effects. Each night before bed, Dorothy performs a gentle release sequence, rolling her shoulders slowly 10 times forward and 10 times backward, gently tilting her head side to side, and slowly dropping her chin toward her chest and lifting it back up. These movements stimulate the vagus nerve, triggering the body's natural relaxation response that lowers heart rate and blood pressure. A study in Frontiers in Neurology tracked 300 stroke survivors who practiced this sequence for 8 weeks. They showed 28% fewer nighttime blood pressure spikes, better sleep quality, and a 19% decrease in recurrent stroke risk. The second element involves something most people never think about: leg elevation. After a full day upright, blood and fluid naturally accumulate in the lower extremities. For seniors, this accumulated fluid puts extra strain on the cardiovascular system throughout the night. Dorothy learned to spend 10 minutes each evening with her legs elevated above her heart level, either propped on pillows or against the wall. This simple position helps gravity return accumulated fluid to circulation, reduces swelling, and takes pressure off the heart. A study in the Journal of Geriatric Cardiology found that seniors who practiced nightly leg elevation had improved morning blood pressure readings and measurably lower stroke risk within 12 weeks. The third element is perhaps the most powerful: establishing a consistent sensory cue that signals deep, restorative sleep. Dorothy chose lavender aromatherapy and soft instrumental music, but the key is consistency. Every night, she applies lavender oil to her wrists and starts the same 20-minute playlist. Her brain has learned to associate these sensory inputs with sleep preparation, and now her body begins transitioning to sleep as soon as she starts the routine. When the brain consistently receives the same sensory information before sleep, it begins to anticipate and prepare for sleep even before you're consciously tired. Heart rate slows, blood pressure drops, and melatonin production increases. A Japanese study found that stroke survivors who used consistent sensory sleep cues for 6 months fell asleep 35% faster, spent 40% more time in deep sleep, and had a 45% lower rate of recurrent strokes. But perhaps the most important thing Dorothy learned is about what happens in her brain during those deep sleep stages, something called the glymphatic system. Every night while you sleep, your brain doesn't just rest, it goes to work. This hidden cleanup system flushes out waste, clears toxic proteins, reduces inflammation, and helps repair tiny tears in blood vessels. It's essential for preventing stroke, dementia, and cognitive decline. Here's the critical part. This system only works during deep, uninterrupted sleep. Every time Dorothy used to wake up for the bathroom, shift in discomfort from overheating, or react to low oxygen from her sleep position, it stopped her brain from reaching the stage where this cleanup system activates. Without it, toxins build up, blood vessels stay inflamed, and damage doesn't get repaired. This is why everything we've talked about matters so much. Timing your water intake, adjusting your sleep position, optimizing your bedroom environment, and establishing protective bedtime rituals. It's not just about comfort. It's about giving your brain the support it needs to do its nightly job of protecting you from long-term damage. 6 months after her stroke, Dorothy sat in Dr. Williams' office looking at brain scans that told a remarkable story. Not only had she avoided another stroke, but her brain showed signs of actual improvement. New neural pathways had formed, inflammation markers had decreased, and the small vessel disease that had been progressing for years had actually stabilized. This is what happens when we work with your brain instead of against it, Dr. Williams explained. Every night, your brain has the opportunity to heal and protect itself. For years, Dorothy's sleep environment was preventing that healing. Now, we've turned her bedroom into a recovery center. Dorothy's complete bedtime routine now takes about 20 minutes from start to finish, but the protection it provides lasts all night long. Her bedroom supports her body's natural processes, her pre-sleep routine prepares her systems for safe sleep, and her consistent sensory cues ensure her brain can access the deep sleep stages where the most critical healing occurs. The transformation has been remarkable and sustainable. These aren't complicated medical interventions or expensive treatments, they're simple, science-based practices that anyone can implement starting tonight. Dorothy often tells Margaret that she wishes she had known these things years ago, not just to prevent her stroke, but because she sleeps better now than she has in decades. Stroke risk isn't about one big mistake, it's about small things piling up night after night. But here's the good news, every small change you make tonight gives your brain a better shot at staying healthy. Because sometimes healing doesn't happen at the hospital. Sometimes it happens quietly at home, in your bed, while you sleep. If you've made it this far, that tells me something important about you. You care. You want to understand what's happening inside your body, and you're not just waiting for a problem, you want to prevent it. That mindset alone puts you ahead. Tonight, when you prepare for sleep, remember Dorothy's journey. Check your bedroom temperature, evaluate your hydration timing, consider your sleep position, and think about your environment. Your brain is counting on you to create the conditions it needs to keep you safe through another night and wake you up healthy tomorrow morning. You don't need to change everything at once. Start with one thing, maybe it's stopping fluids 90 minutes before bed, or elevating your head slightly, or cooling your room by a few degrees. Your future self will thank you, and your brain will have the chance to do what it does best, protect and heal you while you rest. Because stroke prevention doesn't start in the emergency room. It starts tonight, in your bedroom. With the choices you make before you close your eyes.